All right, so for this one, we want to talk about cancer, and we mentioned that really what cancer is cells dividing out of control for whatever reason. The inhibitions on the cell division are not working. Those stop points are not happening, and the cells continue to divide. So really, cancer is nothing more than mitosis out of control. So what I've decided is to go over some of the terminology I want to make sure you realize. So what a tumor is basically a group of cells, abnormal cells. And what happens is with that term, you often get these other terms, and those are the terms that we want to talk about. So benign is the term you hope for when you hear, oh, we feel a growth and we're checking it. And benign basically means it's completely encapsulated. And so what happens then is that it is probably, again, it's fairly safe to remove depending on where it is. There are some benign tumors that they can't get because of where they're located. And they may put pressure on things like nerves, but for the most part, benign is the term you want. Once it's removed, you're in good shape. The term that you do not want to hear is malignant. Malignant is it means it's not encapsulated, and it basically means then that it can be spread around, and that could be a problem. So malignant doesn't really mean the spread, though. The word you really don't want to hear is metastasize. That means that something that has been malignant is actually now moving to other parts of the body. And that is usually not what you want to hear, because that means you're usually in a later stage of cancer, undetected cancer. So what I wanted to do here, just to show you this picture, is breast cancer, very common cancer in females. And so in class, I typically talk about, what do you do? Mammograms are indicated for most women to have, and actually self-checking is recommended. And there are, you can go online and find ways. They explain how to do this, and you should be doing this, and they will talk about it, but they say that you should do it at the same time of the month, because breast tissue will change over a woman's menstrual cycle, we'll talk about later. They tend to say to do it in the shower. It's not like the law, but it's you're typically naked. You got soap, makes the life easier, and you check for lumps. And if you've never done this before, do not panic if you feel a lump. Breasts are lumpy, so there are things in there. So, check the other side, see if they feel similar. You don't want to obviously feel pain, but if you do feel a lump, again, it doesn't mean it's cancer. There's lots of other things that can also cause lumps, cysts, all kinds of different things. So definitely should get checked out. And with the breast, it's actually the lower quadrant that typically has breast cancer. And this is a concern. And the reason I bring this one up is because it's right around a lot of lymph nodes in the armpit. And so this is a way that breast cancer, if not taken care of and caught early, can spread throughout the body by getting hooked into the lymph nodes and into the blood channels. So it's important to catch it quickly, and males can actually get breast cancer too, so it's not just females. On the other side, we're not going to leave the guys out. So the most common male cancer in young males is testicular cancer, and so same thing. You want to check yourself. Some of you might say, I'm checking myself daily. Don't really want to know that, but same thing. You're checking for lumps. You're checking for pain. Again, you have a testes in there, so that is a huge lump. But again, lots of lymph nodes in your genital region, and another one that can metastasize very, very easily So it's important to catch early. And then as men get older, prostate cancer is one of the common prostate. Most guys will have problems with their prostate as they get older. And if it may be just a hardening, which will cause issues, or it can be cancerous. The better news about prostate cancer, I guess, is that it is usually a slow growing cancer, but the position of it can cause problems. And we'll talk about that more when we do the reproduction. Okay, so that's some cancer stuff. So I want to talk about genes that are involved, and there's some terms. So there are proto-oncogenes. Okay, so these genes do not cause cancer, but they are genes that we know that if they mutate, they will cause cancer. Okay, so this is kind of like they say, oh, you have the gene for it. Does not mean you have cancer. It just means that you are more likely than someone else to develop it. So a proto-oncogene is a normal gene that can be altered or mutated to cause cancer. And I'm not going to hold you to these, but these are some of the recognized ones that that are out there. And this is dated. I mean, there's a heck of a lot more of these, but I just want you to kind of get the idea behind this. So a proto-oncogene is not one that causes cancer, but it can. It could be a prelude to. So if you get tested and you have some of these genes, again, does not mean you're going to get cancer, but it means statistically you are more likely than others who do not have it to get cancer. So knowing you have the gene or it runs in your family might help you stay away from riskier behaviors that might smoking, things like that, that might diet, that might encourage these types of genes. So once it becomes cancerous, though, it's called an oncogene. The other side of the coin is there are tumor suppressor genes, and these again are genes that do not cause cancer. These are the ones that are basically controlling so cells do not become cancerous. And what happens is sometimes these fail. And when these fail, then you will get cancer. So again, same thing. The tumor suppressor gene is not a gene that causes cancer, but when it becomes faulty, is what they call it, faulty, F-A-U-L-T-Y, faulty. When it becomes faulty is when it actually creates cancer. All right, and then I just wanted to mention this really good book, if you haven't read it, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lack. And she has an immortal line with some of the most aggressive cancer ever. She had cervical cancer, and these cells would not die. And she was admitted to Johns Hopkins Hospital, which gave free medical care to local Black people. And unfortunately, there have been lots of issues over the years, but what happens is they did try to treat her, and that treatment was with radiation, and she had burns on her. It was early stages of cancer research. And anyway, so they collected these cells, and to do research, they were sending these cells all over the world. Matter of fact, if you read the book, they had different lines of cancer cells and labs that actually ended up with HeLa cells. By contamination, these cells actually would take over the other lines. These things are so aggressive. And the reason I bring this up is just the treatment of people in general is they basically took the cells, and Johns Hopkins and other people have made millions of dollars on the use of it, yet her family still are poor and got no benefits. And there was no real permission asked if they could take her cells. Back in the day, the law was different. Does not necessarily make it right. So this is the book, very good. I read it a few years ago. But there's also a movie out that I have not seen on this also. I think it was an HBO. Anyway, so I want you to know who Henrietta Lack is and why they're called HeLa cells, H-E-L-A.